On today's episode of Locked On Pirates, your host who does the most, Ethan Smith, is joined by Gary Morgan. He's usually here on Mondays, but yesterday you guys enjoyed that episode with Jeff Carr where we recapped the Cincinnati Red Series. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the potential of trading some prospects for MLB talent this offseason and why it could be a good or a bad move for the Pittsburgh Pirates, depending on how you look at it. We're also going to talk about Roansy Contreras and his phenomenal start last night, where he went 7 innings for the first time in his career and really looked like he wanted to go 8 innings there for a minute, but went 7 innings, had a very good outing against the reigning World Series champion Braves. So we'll see how that slates for him for the rest of the 2022 season. And do we get maybe a cameo start for Michael Burrows and some other bigger names that we might see in the September call-ups period? We're going to talk about all of that today and more on Locked On Pirates. Thank you for making me your first listen of the day every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. More on them later, but let's get into today's episode.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome back to that Pirates podcast, everybody. I'm going to get my big restream name off of the screen there. My name is Ethan Smith, host of the Locked On Pirates podcast. That is Gary Morgan, host of the Pirates Fan Forum and Bucks in the Basement, of course. You have to enjoy Gary last week, where his energy was unmatched. A little more tame this week, I think. Not too much crazy stuff has happened. For us to be really jumpy, but I've had it on my mind for a while, and it's something that me and Gary even talked about a little bit last week, that the Pirates are getting to that territory now where some of these guys on the team have actually finally stepped up, it seems like, and have proven themselves and put themselves in good spots to not be benched, get quality looks, that whole deal with the prospects. Like we've seen Rodolfo Castro as of late, ever since the phone fell out of his pocket, he's had like a really good run of things all of a sudden. You've seen Tucupita Marcano do good things. You've seen a lot of these prospects now finally start to kind of turn a corner and start doing some quality things. It begs the question, though, you can't call up everybody. I think that's evidently clear. You can't call up everybody. Now, should you? Probably. You would like in a perfect world to get a fair shake for all of these prospects. But moving into 2023, off the heels of likely another 100-loss season in your third year of rebuilding, do you start trading some of these guys for quality MLB talent for guys that arguably might not even be that hard to trade for?
I mean, I think they should, but I don't know that they will. I don't know that they're there yet mentally. It's a math game, though. Look at what's here. Look at what's coming. There's no way to fit them all.
No.
Period. Castro doing well is a good thing, if only because they have no right-handed hitting anywhere near the league. So it's good to have a switch hitter that looks like he can handle the bat. He's done well up here, and I don't think it was just the phone thing. I think his approach looks different. His his swings look different. His patience at the plate looks different. He doesn't look like he's swinging for the fences all the time. Kevin Newman, for that matter, he's not a prospect anymore, but he's completely changed everything about his approach and his swing. If you're not seeing that he's a different hitter, then you just don't want to. I mean, he's hitting it with authority to the gaps, and that's the kind of power Kevin Newman brings to the table. He's not going to hit it over the fence. He's going to hit line drives to the gaps. That's what he does when he's on. And with this approach, man, it's a guy that I don't think you can just cut loose. So if nothing else, he's somebody that they're going to want to keep next year, and he's definitely going to get tendered, and that adds to the mix, man. It's not as easy to think about bringing people up when you're clogged. Not to mention there's only so many at-bats to go around.
Exactly.
You get somebody like Padlo. Okay, yeah, nobody wants him. Nobody wants Josh Van Meter. Josh Van Meter's getting 6 at-bats a week, maybe. So whoever you call up, are they going to get more than that? You would hope so. So who do they take them from?
Yeah,
You
and
know?
that's kind of my argument right now is I like to specifically look at the middle infield because I know some people, I believe G1 Bay just came back from injury. I don't see him getting called up. I'm just going to shut that down now. I don't think he's going to get called up this year. I think they're going to let him play out the rest of the season, which I think actually ends pretty soon because I know the minor leagues end a little bit sooner than the majors do. But I don't see him getting called up because of the fact that he's been injured just for a pure amount of time that he needs to reacclimate himself. But using him as an example, if you were to bring G1 Bay up, who do you bench? I mean, you're not benching O'Neal Cruz. You can do it, but I don't think you do because you need to see him get the most at bats possible. And you just mentioned Kevin Newman. I know he's not the most likable player on the Pittsburgh Pirates. He hasn't been for a while. A lot of people have wanted him gone for a very long time. I said this yesterday on Twitter, though. If he continues to hit like this, you have a guy who's hitting in the 280 range who was a Gold Glove finalist last year. I have to clear my throat. You don't get that often. And honestly, if you and I know this is going to sound really funny, and people actually gave me crap for it. What Kevin Newman is doing right now, hitting the baseball and playing the defense he's playing, is what everybody wanted Key Brian Hayes to do this year. Yet everybody has a problem with Kevin Newman doing.
I think they wanted a little more pop out of Hayes, but as far as what Kevin Newman can do, the max Kevin Newman, this is max Kevin Newman. This is what you want to see. Good defense, nice power to the gaps, making good contact, not striking out, getting on base, stealing a few bases. That's Kevin Newman. And that's what Kevin Newman can be. That's not a bad player. Like for his career, he's a positive WAR player. I think a lot of people just considered him to be nothing but trash. And yeah, I mean, to a degree, he's never had everything line up. His defense and offense have never come together. This is not a player you just flush. He's a valuable player.
And I also
if
think
nothing else, he's going to return something decent if you have to trade him. And the only reason that I think that this team should consider trading him is if they've got somebody else better that pushes him out of the way.
And I agree with that as well. And also, I would be in the market of keeping him, especially when a lot of these guys are up, because that's a really good bet. I mean, if he's hitting like this and brings that approach 2023, 2024, that's a pretty good bench bat to have in the late innings of a ball game when you want to pinch hit for somebody facing a lefty with all these lefty bats. He's a right-handed hitter. I don't think people realize with this team how valuable right-handed hitting is. They don't have a lot of it.
At least until Altoona starts making its way up here, it's going to be a theme. Because that's where all the right-handed bats are. That's where Gorski is, and Davis, and Peguero, and Gonzalez, and you could go on and on and on. It's very, very left-handed heavy until you get to that point. So I'm not looking to trade anybody that can hit right-handed off this team right now.
Nope. Neither am I. And that's where I agree with it a lot. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, as well as talking about Roansy Contreras absolutely shining last night outside of one bad pitch to Michael Harris, which, I mean, it wasn't a terrible pitch, but it wasn't a great pitch either. But it resulted in a loss, sadly. But if the Pirates do start trading some of these minor leaguers, maybe they want to update their LinkedIn profile. As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small businesses fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the people you want to talk to faster and for free. Create a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then, add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring so your network can help you find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week Nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn, so post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. So, we're going to probably not be made to choose here about what prospects would go. But I do think it is pretty obvious that if the Pirates do take that route, which I believe me and you would like them to see, or like to see the Pirates take that route in some capacity, what are the names that you would say are like, okay, you could trade this guy and make a reasonable case for why he's being traded?
I wish it worked that way.
Yeah, so do I.
Because you're basically like talking about like picking somebody that I think they can live without, and we don't really need to see more, or I'm sure that he's not going to be this.
But you really haven't seen that.
Yeah, like G1 Bay to me is a guy that I want to see up here, but I fear Derek Shelton isn't going to use properly. And I fear his skill set doesn't match what the Pirates are trying to get done. And that kind of scares me a little bit because I think he's a prototypical leadoff hitter. But if you bring him up here and you expect him to swing for the fences, like they seem to be training everybody else to do, I'm not sure that maximizes what G1 Bay could be. So if they're not going to use him properly, I guess he's a guy. But for the most part, it's going to be what somebody wants in order to get something of value. And I hate to be like this, but that could be somebody like a Nick Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you don't want that to be the case. You never want to trade a first-round pick. But, like, if somebody's going to give you a starter that's going to be here for 3 years, that's already kind of tested out and proven, like, say you're already going to get a Mitch Keller plopped in your lap, and you can add him into a rotation of the real Mitch Keller and Roansy Contreras and him and Brubaker maybe coming along more or whatever. That's a pretty decent rotation there. And you might have to be like, okay, we've got other options there. Nick Gonzalez is a casualty here. That's all. That's the type of trade you have to make if you're not going to go out in the free agent market and spend $15 million on a pitcher.
Yeah, and I agree 100% as well. And I would ask Pirates fans here on this podcast, if the Marlins came to the Pirates, or the Pirates went to the Marlins for Pablo Lopez, say he was a guy who was a hot commodity trade target that didn't get moved. If they're starting with Nick Gonzalez, I don't think you say no to that.
No. I mean, I think Travis Swaggerty's probably a guy that's on the table for something like that. They need outfield help as well. We've got a glut of outfielders, right?
Yep.
So there's a lot of ways that they can go about it. Everybody wants pitching, and that's the hard part. Pirates can't afford to be trading off pitching. No. So in other words, if somebody came along and wanted Quinn Priester or Michael Burrows, no.
You have to say no to that immediately.
So, I mean, now, we saw Baseball America ranked Carmen Mlodzinski 10th in the farm system. I personally think that's crap. I don't understand how he's number 10 at all. I'm not sure what he's done to be number 10. And you know how I feel about these rankings to begin with. But still, some GMs take those seriously. Well, that might be a guy that you might be able to sell because the perception of him is really high. But what he actually isn't.
Yeah.
So that's a pitcher you might be able to part with. You know what I mean? So there's some things they can do, but there's some guys that very much so have to be untouchable. Kyle Nicholas is untouchable. You got to see what some of these guys can develop into.
I agree with that as well. And MLB Prospects is usually the one that I use, and it's really funny because Carmen Mlodzinski is their 20th ranked prospect on MLB Prospects versus Baseball America.
Yeah.
They're all
Fangraphs is
so
way
different.
off too.
Because number 10, ironically, in MLB Prospects for the Pirates is Thomas Harrington, who they literally just drafted. So we'll see how that goes, as well as Hunter Barco. Those is another guy who's really close to that number. But a guy who won't be getting traded is Roansy Contreras, who yesterday had a phenomenal start. I mean, of course, he comes up after his first start of not being here after he was supposed to be saving innings in AAA and pitched over 5 innings over 4 starts in each of his 4 starts in AAA. Comes back, struggles that first game, something I kind of expected. Comes back here against Atlanta and just absolutely, I don't even know an adjective to use. Like he just,
Against that lineup too, that's just
yeah, I mean, that was very impressive. Of course, the offense didn't give him any help whatsoever. But, I mean, you're talking about a lineup of Ronald Acuna, Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, Matt Olson, Travis d'Arnaud, Eddie Rosario, Grisham, Michael Harris, and Robbie Grossman. And Roansy Contreras held that lineup to 4 hits and 2 runs off of one bad pitch against Michael Harris.
I mean, I would say he got away with multiple bad pitches actually against like Dansby Swanson in particular. I mean, he hung 2 sliders to him in consecutive at bats and got away with it by like that much. And if there was a slight breeze blowing out to left, I think it would be a different score as well because he had a few balls knocked down right before the wall out there, and Marcano made some really nice plays as well. Not denigrating what he did, but I hate when people say like he made one bad pitch. He probably made about 15, you know.
Yeah.
But all in all, really, really, really good start and really encouraging watching him use his slider and the four-seam fastball placement. He definitely has learned how to pinpoint that four-seamer. It's going where he wants it. It didn't in his first start, as you accurately pointed out. This one, he was putting them everywhere. He could have put them on a postage stamp from 150 feet. It wasn't even a question, and it was really nice to see. He was in total command. I can't think of how many outings that we've seen this year from any of the starters where you could feel that way. Maybe a couple from Quintana. Brubaker had one a few days ago, that 7 inning that he threw. But you just don't see it very often this year, and it's really nice to see.
Yeah, and it's also very funny as well last night that the 2 guys who made cameo starts in September were the show pretty much last night. O'Neal Cruz had what I call the weirdest moonshot swing I've ever seen. I don't know. I don't know what that swing was. I don't know how he hit it for a home run, but it was great. I mean, I watched that swing probably about 15 times, and I was like, how did this go as high as it did and as far as it did? It literally looked like it was this close to his chest, and he just kind of like dinked it over the fence. Now I know.
See about O'Neal Cruz though, we all talk about what's wrong with him because there is a lot. He is missing breaking pitches. He is swinging at balls and taking strikes, and that's a problem. And the reason that you don't give up on him, the reason that you just keep letting him swing, is because if he is bad, he's going to hit 25 home runs. I mean, like, that's just the way it is, and this team needs power. I'm sorry. It's not ideal if he hits under 200 and hits 25 home runs, but he will hit 25 home runs, and they have to have them.
Yeah, they really do. I mean, a lot of people also got a kick out of me yesterday tweeting that O'Neal Cruz is on the race for the NL Rookie of the Year, or NL Rookie, not NL Rookie of the Year, NL Rookie home run leader scenario, where it's funny that he's chasing his own teammate who hasn't been here since June right now. Nolan Gorman and Michael Harris both have 13. Sawinski still leads NL rookies in home runs with 14, and Cruz is currently tied for 4th with Diego Castillo for 10. And a lot of people got a kick that both Sawinski and Castillo have not been here since June. There are reasons for that, valid reasons for that. I was just more making a joke. I would like to see them here. Yes, it would be nice for the power element, but I would also not like to see them strike out 20 times a week. So, which I think you mentioned it to me last week, and I actually looked at it. Sawinski's even still struggling with striking out right now in AAA.
It's actually worse than it was in the majors. So, that's not great.
It's not a good sign at all.
Yeah. Now, it doesn't mean that I guess like the best way to look at that is he's not there unless he's working on something. So looking uncomfortable at the plate when you're working on something like a swing change or recognizing pitches differently. You may have an instance where they tell him, I don't want you to swing at a single breaking pitch, for a week. I'm just saying, things like that do happen. And you just don't know what's going on with them. So I wouldn't read too much into it. I think he's probably the same kind of hitter he was up here at least. But they do need to refine it a little bit. And it's better to work on it now and have him come back and be better. I mean, look at Roansy. We can all bitch about the service time manipulation, but you also can't argue that that kid honed a few of his skills. I mean,
Yeah.
he's up here pitching now. He's not just like trying to gun it past people. That's good. So, I mean, there are benefits to going down sometimes too for a little bit.
Yeah, and I agree with that also. Let's start seeing guys up here when they need to be up here. I think the biggest argument to that is O'Neal Cruz right now, because O'Neal Cruz, be it that he has his struggles right now, he's still adding some positivity to this lineup in terms of the power element that he brings, and his defense has been shaky at times, but it's also been very good at times, depending on like how you look at it. But if you were to tell me that he was going to hit 186 anyway, why was he in AAA all that time? That's my only kind of argument with this with O'Neal Cruz is why was he there if this was the end result of him being there for an extra 3 months rather than being here on opening day like he probably should have been.
I mean, that's the goal though. You don't want him to hit 186. You want him to hit 230, 240. Realistically, you want him to hit 300. So you don't give up on him. You want to try to make him a little bit better hitter, make him a little more selective. I think they swung too far and made him too selective, and it's really screwed him up. And I'm hoping in the off season he makes some more adjustments and starts to recognize that. I actually hope he bulks up a little bit. I think his hands are too close to his body. I think he needs to get to a shorter swing, get more compact. He's got plenty of power. He doesn't need to take that big of a swing to generate it. So I mean, I think there's some things they need to work through with him. But I'm not overly concerned because he's a kid. So
I do also think that gets lost in the fold about a lot of these players, especially O'Neal Cruz. As I get the O'Neal Cruz hype, I get everything. Like when he first came up, he had a great debut, all that stuff. He had a great debut last year. I get it. But at the end of the day, the guy is still a rookie. This is the first time that he is seeing Major League action, Major League pitching over a course of time.
yeah,
This is
and
the
he's
first
got a
time that's
pitching
happened.
coach that I just don't think is helping. You know, and you know me. I don't say this stuff cavalierly. I don't think that Andy Haynes is the answer, and I don't think he's helped anybody in that roster at all. So, I mean, if you want to consider Kevin Newman, well, Kevin Newman changed his swing in his rehab stint coming up from AAA. It's back to what he was trying to do in the spring last year that never stuck. For some reason, he decided to go back to it. So I guess maybe credit Rick Eckstein.
It's just also crazy to me that you see a lot of these guys go to AAA and then they come back and their swing is better. Like they're just
Mm-hmm.
playing better. Now, you don't see that with everybody, but it's also not a welcoming sight when Christian Yelich, of all players, was happy that a guy left. And you also see that Christian Yelich isn't having like the prototypical Christian Yelich season that we would think of a couple years ago, but he's definitely a lot better than he was last year. And I know the 93.7 The Fan comments that Charrington had were not exactly welcoming to a lot of people, but I'm also here to tell you Derek Shelton was never going to be gone. He was always going to be here in 2023. Everybody under him, though, make a strong argument to me about who should be here under Derek Shelton outside of Oscar Marine, who to me, has actually seen some progress with a lot of good pitchers.
I mean, there's really only two that common fans are going to care about. And it's Haynes and Marine.
Yeah.
I think I've said it on here before. Marine, I think, was tied to Keller. The turnaround that Mitch has shown this year, I'm sorry, I think he gets another year. I also think he's done some really good things with like Will Crow and Dylan Peters and Chase DeYoung, and I think he's done pretty well. Um, I'm kind of just gonna lay off him a little bit. I think right now I'm okay with him staying. Haynes, again, I don't see it, but they've had Christian Marrero be the assistant under the last two, and maybe it's time to move on from him too. Maybe he's a voice that's not helping. So, I think they could have a wholesale change on the hitting side of things, but I'm also not 100% positive how much Derek Shelton's involved.
Yeah, I don't think that's something any of us really know, is it? I mean, is he like focused on the hitting aspect like a lot, or is he just hands off with it?
He's definitely not hands off. I mean, there's video of him helping to coach the hitters.
Well, yeah.
But as far as like, is the plan his and whoever they hire is just preaching whatever he wants preached, or are we hiring people that have their own ideas and they're instituting them in their own way, and he's just sitting there haplessly watching it happen? Either way, it's kind of inexcusable. You hire an ex-hitting coach, you expect your team to probably be able to hit, right? It's disappointing at best, and I think 23 is a big year for him. I don't think it's crazy to think 23 is his last year, regardless of whether he has a chance or not. To let him enter the season as a lame duck would be weird. And to extend him would be even weirder, I think. So I think he's probably going to go in next year as a lame duck. That just doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah, I mean it's very interesting because a lot of people keep saying like next year is going to be a year for the Pirates where you need to see some noticeable progress. Like you have to. Like there's like no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you need to see noticeable progress in terms of hitting, in terms of pitching, in terms of wins and losses. You need to see it. And if it doesn't happen I'd say by June next year, if the Pirates are like in the same position that they are this year, like by like June or July, Derek Shelton's done. I mean, he will be out like very quickly. And you've seen around the league that other owners and other whatever general managers or whoever makes that decision have not shied away from getting rid of people this season. I don't know if it'll be any different next year.
I wish I felt a little more confident than that, but I think a lot of the decisions that get made excuse me, aren't Derek Shelton's. And so I think there's a little bit of Ben Cherington that's probably like, I'm not going to fire him for executing what I want. Next year, I think some of that starts to go away. It becomes a little bit more about what Derek Shelton's doing with the talent he's been given.
Yeah, I agree. I really do. But we will see. As you see me and Gary kind of getting down the home stretch of the season, as next week we head into September. It'll be the 29th of August when we get Gary on next week, and then we'll be into the month of September where most people in Pittsburgh stop caring about the Pirates and watch Steelers football. Also, we get Pitt, West Virginia next week in the Backyard Brawl, so make sure you go check out Locked On Pitt for everything going on around that. Locked On Steelers host Chris Carter doing some phenomenal things outside and inside the network, so make sure you go check him out. Also, on this podcast, tomorrow we'll be recapping the Brave series, which I believe ends tomorrow. Is this a 3 or a 4 game set? I forgot. I believe this is a 3 game set. Yes, it is. It's a 3 game set, so we'll be recapping that tomorrow after the game is over. And then, of course, another series that we'll be previewing. But, guys, my name is Ethan Smith. That's Gary Morgan. Go check out his 5 Thoughts at 5 from yesterday over at Bucks in the Basement and all of the stuff that he has planned for this week. and I will see you guys on the flip side.